The ETF alone is going to convert 300 billion into Bitcoin.
Okay.
From fiat. 300 billion.
Wow.
I think will convert from fiat to Bitcoin. Okay.
Nice.
Let's double that as people buy altcoins and stuff. So that's 600 billion. So that's basically doubling the base.
Yep.
Okay. Of where we are today. That's just on the ETF. Okay. That doesn't include any FOMO or any other stuff. So that doubles us to 1.2 trillion. Let's bump that to 1.5. So what's the multiplier? So if the multiplier's 3-ish, I think 5's easy. We've done pretty well in 15 years. We just had the 15th anniversary of the white paper, right? October 31st. I always loved the fact that the white paper, which was completed obviously before October 31st, was released on Halloween, right? The day before Dia de los Muertos. And I just find that ironic. I mean, Satoshi had a sense of humor, right? And what I think is amazing, in 15 years, we've gone from zero, no adoption of the technology, no one even knew what the technology was, to your point, we hit 3 trillion. Today we're, $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion of value from a technology that is in its infancy, right? I talk about this, there's the capability of something and there's the potential of something. So what is the capability of most 15-year-olds? It's not very high. I mean, we all love them. They're our kids. They're nice. And some of them are wunderkinds, but the average 15-year-old doesn't have a lot of capability. Their potential is amazing, okay? I show this picture of an 11-year-old LeBron James all the time. And I say, what would you pay for this guy's future earnings? Oh, you can't say that. That's like, I'm not saying you're buying the person. I'm saying, how much would you pay for this kid's future earnings? And at 11 years old, LeBron didn't look like anybody special. He looked like any other 11-year-old. He wasn't even that big. And people are saying, I'm not paying for that kid. Oh, you missed a big, I would have paid a decent amount for that. But the capability of Bitcoin today and other assets in the ecosystem is solid. It's good. But the potential, unbelievable. I mean, Bitcoin will become the global asset settlement layer, right? Every asset in the world will ultimately settle down onto Bitcoin. I believe that, right? Now, does that mean there won't be any other tokens? No. Does that mean there won't be any other protocols? No. Right? We have 5-ish, 6, 7 protocols that matter. 2024, right, which hasn't happened yet, is the beginning of the cycle that I've been talking about forever. 54 with the mainframe, 68 with the microchip, 82 with the personal computer, 96 with the internet, 2010 with the mobile net, and 2024 with the truth net, okay, the Web3, the internet of blockchains. That's the beginning. And if you go back to that 1998 chart, right, that was halfway through the beginning, right? 1996 was the internet. 2000, 4 years later, there's a bust.
Yep.
1958, there was a bust. 1972, there was a bust. You had a 4-year period, and then there's a bust. And in that bust, there was a cover story about the internet being dead. And Paul Krugman said it'll never be more important than a fax machine. And there was the picture of the little sock puppet from pets.com run over it with tire tracks. And Mark Andreessen, right, the guy who invented the modern internet because he invented the browser, which made it, you didn't have to be a tech geek to connect to the internet. He said all these ideas were right. They were just early. Now, early is the euphemism for wrong, right? You're just wrong. And ultimately, all of these ideas are going to be right. And everything we have is going to be tokenized. Everything we have is going to be settled on blockchains. Everything we do is going to be using micropayments of cryptocurrencies. All of it, but not tomorrow. And that's why it's such an exciting time to be an investor. And every time there's a correction, the right answer is not to run away, but to buy more. First wave, that yellow wave, Tim Draper, who I think we'll talk about later, Tim calls it the IS curve. So you get this little eye, this little mania around every new innovation, and then it peaks and it crashes, and then we get what's called the trough of disillusionment. And everybody's like, oh, down in the dumps, and oh my God, it's never going to work, it's never going to happen. And then suddenly it just starts to ramp. And when you hit that knee of the curve, when you get from the early adopters to the middle majority, it takes 10 years to go through the first phase, right? To get the first 10%. That's a long time. 10 years is a long time. And you're just waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. And the problem is you FOMO'd in at the peak of the eye and you lost some money. And that sucks. But you got to be patient and you got to accumulate and you got to average down your cost. And because ultimately that slope, that upward slope of the blue line is going to happen. So the S curve is still a decade away, right? I mean, the ramp of the S curve, but the main cycle is always 14 years. And why doesn't that go faster? Well, it's because look, at the core of everything are humans, and humans don't change, right? We have greed, we have fear, we have a small creative class, and it depends on the token, it depends on the process, and where we are, because every asset is different. But at the end of the day, we are a decade, because I'll say the first 5-ish years were more of a science project, and it was kind of the precursor before the trend. But ultimately, 2024 is what I will argue is the beginning of the adoption trend. And so, that means that 4 years from now, we're going to have a bust. Just like from 96 to 2000, we had a bust. And that bust won't be the end. It'll actually be the beginning, because in the downturns, and like we're in one now, right? 2022, bear market, recession. They didn't call it a recession, but there was recession. 650,000 people have been laid off at the big tech companies. 650,000. That is a lot of people. Now, what happens when that happens? Some of them say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start a new company. And some of those companies become really big. And that's the nature of innovation. Innovation cycles are accelerated when you allow failure. In this next run, to answer your question in two ways, I think the ETF alone is going to convert 300 billion into Bitcoin.
Okay.
From fiat. 300 billion.
Wow.
I think will convert from fiat to Bitcoin. Okay.
Nice.
Let's double that as people buy altcoins and stuff. So that's 600 billion. So that's basically doubling the base.
Yep.
Okay. Of where we are today. That's just on the ETF. Okay. That doesn't include any FOMO or any other stuff or any use cases like for XRP and the like. So let's say, that doubles us to 1.2 trillion. Let's bump that to 1.5. So what's the multiplier? So if the multiplier's 3-ish.
What we saw from last time.
Yeah,
usually the same multiplier. Okay,
so
fair enough.
That puts it 4.5.
4.5.
Rounded up to 5. I think 5's easy.